Grace, thank you. I didn't realize there was two.
Okay, so to bring you up to speed, we called the meeting to order. We started at 4 o'clock. We called the meeting to order. We did a roll call, approved the agenda. We're right now discussing old business, so the board is reviewing the marketing and tourism RFP that was submitted previously. Was there any action that you needed to take on the RFP review?
Only to any recommendations we have for updating, I think, the RFP out for this new round. So I think that's it. I mean, I guess if there's any of these that we really like, to ID them to make sure that the RFP gets into their hands.
So when we advertise the RFP, it's usually published in the newspaper so that there's a broad, everybody can respond to the RFP. And you can absolutely select agencies that you want to make sure you send it to. So if you want to send it to all 5 again, that's fine. So on your next agenda for the next meeting, that might be something you want to have on that agenda.
The newspaper, does it have to be in the printed one or the online?
It has to be in the printed
So
one.
wasn't that right?
So usually a Friday's a print day.
That's the print data.
And I in the past have advertised in both the Journal and the Chronicle. So would you like to make that an agenda item for the next meeting?
To discuss who to add. Sure.
Joe, you were going to send me what y'all had put together that needs to be then put into the deal. Can you still do that?
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
in the drive as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been added to the SharePoint stuff, but all of our meeting minutes are in the OneNote, and so we'll be able to review it there, but
I can add them in if you want, or you
Yeah.
can.
that'd be great. I don't think I have the ability to add folks to
Okay,
here.
so I'll add Chris. And then you can drop that RFP that I sent you into there.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So then when you come back at your next meeting, you'll have further discussion on the RFP. And
What's the due date? Do we already have
You
a
said
due
your own
date?
due date.
Okay, I didn't know if we already set a due date or if it's just going to be based on when we actually put it on.
I think we're just trying to get out as soon as
I mean, as soon
possible.
as possible.
Okay, is there
Yeah.
anything that we?
I was hoping we could get it done
Set
today, but it sounds like we might have a piece left.
well, I mean, you can do it today. If you're ready, go for it.
Let me see, what else? Have you guys had a chance to review the previous one that Marty sent out? I mean, you probably are gonna have to put it in there.
When we got it right here, we could.
I don't feel like we should cram it into 2 hours right now. We have other stuff on the agenda.
Okay, so everybody review the RFP, send any edits that you have to me, I'll give them to Joe. Joe will finalize the RFP since he has the Word doc, and then he'll come back at the next meeting with the revised RFP. And then, okay, so that's 2 weeks, you can have it done in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's no problem, yeah.
Okay, so 2 weeks you'll have something to put out there.
Can I keep this?
I just found the extras.
Awesome.
And you can
That
that
one, can I take that? Oh, can I borrow this?
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, the other notes that I had on reviewing the previous RFP were just throughout to make sure we don't refer the contractor, refer them as only a graphic designer. We want to make sure that they have all the digital marketing expertise. It does seem like the responses address that appropriately. It says the board will retain property rights to any deliverables. I think that should instead be the city of Trinidad. So I will update that. And then the budget named in there is $60,000 for an annual budget. So I was wondering if we wanted to increase that to 100K or leave it at 60 and see what they come in with. I did see at least one of these responses was at 100 already.
Okay, so that reason why was the previous board had set it at 60, And then after looking at
Mm,
some different things, they raised it to 100,000.
gotcha.
And so I sent out another email to all the respondents saying now it's at 100,000. That's why that one came back, because his wasn't complete yet. So he sent it at 100,000.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
update it to 100.
100, yeah.
And just to
Um,
throw it out there, I don't know if it's something they do, but I think you mentioned it last time. Put it somewhere in there that we'd also need this in electronic
Yes,
form.
that's in my notes as well, yep. So request a PDF version of proposals as well as physical. I don't know if there's any city policy around that, but yeah, it just makes it easier to distribute and review, so I will include that. The last thing on the budget was, would we potentially want, some of these do have follow-up plans for like subsequent years. Do we want to put anything in there about that, like a retainer to follow with a specific amount? Or I don't want to tie ourselves down that way. So we could also just say, any additional ideas you have for like follow-up campaigns, please include an outline or something along those lines.
I think that sounds good. I don't think we should waste people's time when we're not sure what next year is gonna look like, depending on how
And
far we
hopefully
get.
we'll have someone
When we have some more
else.
flexibility on it as well.
We could say please include, but not required, something like that, so that
And a lot of these do have that. So some of
Yeah,
these respondents did say, in addition, we can do X, Y, and Z
yeah, I did notice that.
at this cost, so, yeah.
So yeah, I could say like any follow-up work is welcome if you want to outline. Yeah.
Ideas, yeah.
Okay,
Something that you didn't think about that they, as professionals, would be great, could add.
So I guess we could mention that it's a 1-year contract with plans to extend, something like that.
yeah, and I think there may be some language like that in the
Is there?
original.
Okay.
All right, yeah, that all sounds good. Yeah, if you guys have any other notes, just send them, do you say to Marty?
Send it to me and I'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Motion to move to the next agenda item, which is new business.
I'll move to the next agenda.
Second?
Second.
Okay, new business, presentation from Brett Fairs, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, Brett Fairs with Ostruck and Duke Crawford on the lighting artwork. So I'll let you guys duke it out. As who goes first?
All right, I'm just planning on. Yeah, if you want to go, it depends on what you want, but if you want context first or context afterwards.
We'll get context a lot. Let me go ahead and start it up just to get things. I want to leave some room for where you're going to, because I'm going to try to compress things here. So let's see if this works here. I'm going to do something that's different from the original presentation to town council slightly. I'm going to introduce what Ostruck is not. And just hopefully bring us into larger discussion about where you guys might want to go with something like this art festival idea. So I'll start with a little video here. This is the idea, projection mapping. If you've heard this term before, it seems pretty prevalent, but it normally requires a lot of effort just as pre-production goes. There's a lot of, you take over a space, you might end up inking it in certain ways you want. You bring it into a digital realm like Photoshop, and something maybe stronger than that. But you can see there's teams involved, there's a lot of registration, there's just a lot of stuff going on there. This is just for one wall. And you're waiting as an attendee to see it. It's not something that you get to see until they're ready for you. So it's like a performance. You do sit there as an audience member, much like you would in cinema, where you're just kind of faced forward. You're not necessarily connecting with people around you, but you might be sharing a similar emotion from what you're seeing in front of you. So this kind of production right here, this came from Melbourne, Australia, with that team, and you'll see that there's some projectors there. So that bank of projectors for this whole production would cost possibly more than what I'm recommending to do here in Trinidad. And that's for one work. So we're talking about multiple works, something that will, let's see here, forward, yeah. Something that this is now awestruck that we're talking about. It's a lot more intimate. People are able to walk around, engage with the work. They're in the frame. They're not, the projection isn't above them. This stuff is, I welcome distortion. I don't want pixel perfect necessarily, but you can see how shifts in your movement change the art. This stuff allows people to start conversing freely and start seeing their community in a different way. So the architecture they've been walking past all the time, all of a sudden has details they didn't see before, and this continues on to the days afterwards, where the projections disappeared, and yet you end up still seeing the details that you've been walking past. So it's got a nice sort of after image quality. There's a place you might recognize under the
overpass.
yeah, that's right, under I-25. So out there with Duke and the colleague Ariel Christensen. This kind of work is the stuff that I want people to be involved in.
Is that where the globe is in Las Vegas? There's a big globe.
Sphere, that's right, he wants to talk about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, well, like you said, it's a big project and an interesting one too, yeah. Definitely would like to talk about it. Do you want a question about it though now?
Oh, no, I just wanted to know if that's the same kind of technology on the globe and.
It's a little different. This one here is a lot more basic. I like keeping things simple because it keeps things flexible. These projectors I use are lighter, so you don't require teams to do it. If you saw that projection mapping, it requires forklifts to get those projectors out. They weigh like 150 pounds a piece. So it's just, it's a lot of effort to me. I'd rather spend time on a small to medium-sized installation. So these little bullets here, the international scope in terms of the art catalog they bring, but it's local at its core. Wherever I go, it's based on the DNA of a community and the architecture, say, built environment. Outside the institution, this is one of the things I'm always trying to get going, push forward with. It's not inside of an art gallery or art museum. It's not inside of any kind of institution. It is more like a sports bar, where you can go in there and see all these TVs around you. You can engage a TV as you wish, the team or whoever you're watching, but then go back to the person that you're sitting next to at the bar. Continue conversation, look up, go back to the conversation. So there's a different kind of interactivity going on. It's not about trying to steer your focus. I prefer this again. I think that's what gives these communities a chance to talk, and it will come up as freely as they do, where they start talking about where they are, they want their friends and family to know about it. This is a big deal. And so we'll start with this example here. This is where I started doing projection mapping at large scale in 2008. Alice Beach is on the Panhandle in Florida. And it's a beautiful beach. This is from maybe 2017 here. Not near the buildings in 2008. This is, of course, when the economy kind of tanked. Not many sales going on. But I got a chance over the 14 years I was with the festival to see this kind of evolution happen. And it's weird in terms of seeing that evolution myself, because no one knew what was going to happen next. The farms install a lot of projectors to make that first year happen. And still, with a hurricane rooftop rolling through, knocking out like 2/3 of projectors, people thought it was still our idea. So there's still a lot of impact, what you can do with this kind of festival. It just doesn't require the same sort of big picture idea that comes with these other festivals going on right now. I wanted to point out that there is a path here. So it starts off, let's say here, and you'll see a shot from the entrance. It follows this path, it'll jump over here to a fire pit area, wanders down here, goes around this lake, goes around here, and ends up at this pool area. So this is first step of trying to figure out, where you would like to take a festival in and through, have people check out some art. I guess there's some other things listed here. We can continue, in the Q&A if you wish to talk about, say, acres. This one here went to 4 nights. As it says, there were 42 projectors the year that I left. That was just common. And I don't know about going that high because it's not as intimate. It's kind of a long path. And people sometimes just want to get to the pool. But this was ticketed, so it had, an element that's not exactly open to everybody. And that's not exactly what I'm interested in either. I'd rather be public. The ticketed side, it was about $250 per person in 2021. That was for the entire weekend.
$250.
$250. So I'm bringing this stuff up so you know that there were different ways to kind of help pay for the festival.
Do you know what the attendance was, like how many tickets were sold?
Yeah, and it's 1,800. So it didn't really fulfill that idea of paying back everything. This did lean on the sales department of this real estate developer. And I guess I just want to say that over 14 years, there was a great deal of return on investment from this. So that the year that I left in April of 2021, public sales estimate, or not the estimate, but the record said there was just short of 250 million in a single month. So they did do well. This was one of the goals. It was to bring community to the area, but it was to sell real estate. So that's a little different than what we're talking about here, but I wanted to bring it up to you so that you get to know how people have been thinking about these kinds of festivals. So these are some shots from, that's like the entrance it mentioned. We have one specific artwork waiting, but there's one off to the right here on another wall that person's taking a picture of. So you just start things up fairly quickly.
I have a question, Brett. How do you ticket something that's out in the open like that?
They had fences that they would put up right before the event started. So like that's a gate right there. If you see those lower sorts of
Right, I see.
countertop, kinds of things. Yeah, they made fences. It's almost like Disney because they have their own security. I mean, I think it's the Florida way to do things. But it's a good question though. And it can be done, but we'll talk here in a second. We'll get to a public one.
So there's 2 options. So you can do something public that's everybody can see, that's not ticketed, or you can create an event where you can make some money.
Right, and then there's a hybrid, which is about creating, let's say, a VIP section, and then having sponsors. Everything. You say there are other ways of defraying. Yeah. Let's see here. You going? Yeah. All right. So just some other shots of how the light will fall. I again am not, and I've just never looked at trying to put things in a square box or a rectangle. This has 2 projectors on each end of this pool, and it was just, I don't know, some good effects. This was like a filing cabinet down the left, but this is at the pool, sort of at the end of the festival.
So how do you project onto those pieces that are above the pool?
So in this instance right here, from the canopy, the projector sits over here and is facing up. So that's another thing about flexibility. I, can have some scaffolding, but I'd rather have things shoot off the ground. You definitely get some different ways of seeing what's around you. Yeah. Definitely keep asking what you see. I'm sure there's a lot of questions, but I bring this up because I am trying to get myself to Colorado. I am born and raised in Denver. I've got a lot of family, and I just am trying to get myself, especially out of Florida, not for any whatever kinds of other reasons, except I just would like to be back out west. And so did some work last year at McNichols. Did some work there at Vales Amphitheater. And there are 2 examples that aren't really exactly apples to apples with Trinidad, because you've got a convention center on one end, and then you have an amphitheater, which is about music performance. so it's sharing, but it's also about people just sitting, again, focused on one place. So this is an example, just trying to get myself here. So let's see. Oh, if you want to see a video of that stuff, you can. I'm just trying to keep it a little tighter on the side. Okay, so this is the first example I wanted to highlight. This is a museum that sits in a park. Everybody's welcome to go. To the point where people, I mean, they bring their lawn chairs and they hang out like it's a film festival. That was a new thing for me because I'm used to people just constantly move. And so it did change the way I set up a playlist of video. But I think it's a lot more interactive because people just have much more to look at. And if they want to relax, they get to do it. But in that kind of, and I'll say that in those placements, you can have food carts, bar carts, whatever you wish to, again, bring some more, I don't know. I don't think those defray cost as much, but it does bring the community out and they get to see who they know in the community in a different way as well. So this, let's see, I guess this does have a video here. So this is sort of entrance to the museum. This is the old entrance. So it's, yeah, it's a good way to bring people to an entrance that isn't in existence anymore. But projecting where things make sense. And I'll note that people like to be in the light. And I think that there is something across millennia that we use silhouettes to kind of say we're here. There is a sense of being. So it's surprising. It can have an effect like it's a hologram or something. You never know how that works. It does look like maybe somebody did this in After Effects. Some other kind of 3D program. And that's why it's really important to be there to see what's going on with this stuff. So the second example, and I guess one thing I better mention about the previous example is it is 10 projectors, 18 artworks, and it just seems like a good size. We've kind of grown it. It's in their third year. It just seems like a good number. We'll see if they're going to grow it a little bit further than that. But here in Buena Vista, this was done for South Main, and done a few shows with them. But this one was done for New Year's Eve, and it is 5 projectors, 10 artworks. And I wanted to show it to you so you can see how projection works on just a common building. It doesn't have, it's never really has to be special.
So I have a question, Brad.
Yes.
If you are going to have something like this, maybe for 4 or 5 nights, do you have to place those projectors in a secure location and then leave them there so that it continues to project?
Yes.
So is that like something in the formula where you have to figure where you're going to do this so that you have secure locations for your projectors?
Those definitely come into consideration, and when they are in the open, volunteers, there are different ways to get people sort of to help defray whatever kinds of bumping into, or yeah, that might happen. But generally, people don't touch it. Maybe hopefully
You
they
have to
like
have
it.
done, and then starting the next morning, you gotta take them away and put them back up.
Yeah, do take the projectors and, like you say, you store them overnight. But they're very quickly, put back up the next day. It might take an hour to try to get things in line and ready to go. It's another reason why doing 50 projectors, you need a team, but not the smaller stuff. So again, kids like to do this kind of thing, their hands up in the air, as well as the 80-year-olds as well, not just the 8-year-olds. So it was just fun. I mean, finding these different locations. I don't know if you can tell what that projection is there, but there is this bird. It's called stink guy. But the bird just sits there for 5 minutes and just kind of looks at you, looks away, looks at you. So everybody's kind of got this, like, what's going on here? Look, and then he just walks off. But the snow started falling. It was pretty cool. Well, to have that bird up there. So that is, some of the background that I've been doing this. The work has, clients in China and Berlin, these places go, but it's hard to do those kinds of programs. I don't know, because in China you have state-owned land, and they need to play well with the people who are going to put something on top of the land. When they don't play well, well, I say play, but when you don't go through the politics, bad things can happen. They'll take the land away. So I just want to be, I want to be in the U.S. and keep doing it here. So with Trinidad, you know, I've got that same option that I mentioned with Vero Beach Museum of Art, doing 10 projectors, 18 artworks. And I'll go ahead and talk to the price, but also I want to talk about this kind of workflow idea. To get us to a place where if we're going to do something in November, December, this is how we're going to get there. I mean, there is a discovery process to begin most of everything you guys have been looking at with, say, ad agencies. Pretty similar to that with experience design. But I've done quite a bit already through the help of Dana and Duke, putting me up, inviting me out here to see what's going on here in the town. And so I like that. I know, I mean, I've met you guys out there around Trinidad. It's kind of wild that I know this so well. So that discovery part should be really short, sweet. This path formation will be a part of the discovery, and understanding flow. It was good to hear some of the folks talking about Main Street being closed last week in town council. And understanding that, I have no need to obstruct different locations, especially the ones that do see the need. I was looking at first, and I would love to know more about when they are going to complete that construction.
I would too.
Yeah. Good. Well, so that's a part of it, you know, safety, and you mentioned branding. I mentioned in here, you know, partnership. I've been involved in a lot of different ways to defray costs, so it's up to you to talk to those kinds of thoughts. It's not always easy, 3 months or 2.5 where we're at, to try to put on a festival to bring in sponsors. But there are other ways to kind of talk to it. And I've got some pull with like either Epson or Sony to try to defray some of the projector costs, that kind of thing. But so that next step, getting art selections, playlists, and everything drawn up, get those finalized, and then that's when you can start looking at the details. And they're not, especially the lower sort of number of projectors, it's not so long of a process. But like if there are places where we need enclosures that you mentioned, I diminished that size a little bit. It's not always needed, but I know that there's talk about trying to put some projectors up here on top of the building. That would require an enclosure, so we'll be talking maybe about all that kind of stuff. I have clients that do have 24/7 down in Florida, which is a different idea. Then I wonder, this is what I think I asked, I guess it was Steve Friday. Then you wonder about, is there code? Is this going to turn into a Vegas trip? Because then everybody, you know, wow, I want to do that too. That's a whole other can, I guess. But getting to that last spot where you test, iterate, and finalize, you just keep experimenting. You try to find the places that work best for everyone. That idea, don't have a need again to close down businesses by the closure of Main Street. But this does take place at night. I don't know how often businesses operate at night.
I do.
You do, that's right. But and it's the thing, we'll talk about how to manage that flow, if it's a car thing or not.
I generally see the street being shut down as a benefit, so.
That's what I've been, around mostly. So hearing this last week, it's there, talk, but If those businesses close at 6, maybe it's not so much of an issue.
And there's an event going on and the streets are shut down, generally that's a big uptick for businesses. So I don't think that's really the problem. that
Yeah.
People are conveying, but it's more inconvenience.
Understood. No, but you're definitely listening, so see what's going on. And I guess this next slide is unnecessary, I guess, but how do we get to showtime? That's what I'm here to find out from you guys. This is the options that I presented to town council. That upper left version gives you, an investment price. That second one with 7 projectors, there is some scale that you can go back and forth between if the budgets work for you. And I left that one over on the right-hand side for 20 projectors. I could just get to know what can work and what actually doesn't shrink. And it's labor that doesn't scale. We're still happily flummoxed by that.